And I'll ask Claire to join me. Claire is.
Hey.
Hey, Claire. Claire is the co-chair for this conference together with Teresa. So thank you so much, Claire, for organizing this. It's already a great event. So what are your thoughts on the first live stream?
Well, first of all, we did it. It's done. Inaugural event, the first time. It's always just a little bit. There's some nerves beforehand, right? Before everything goes live. Thank you so much for being the host. I know that it's late in the evening where you are because you're in Europe, right? So
yeah, I'm near Amsterdam actually.
Okay, so I'm here in California, and that's always the struggle. Like, we're always talking on the phone at my midnight or your 9 p.m. or something like that. But I think you did a great job. So obviously you were paying attention and got to enjoy the talks too. I was juggling a few other things operationally in the background, so I didn't hear everything. But the good news is that probably in about a half hour, the Citus Con website is going to cut over from the live stream to show the replay. So anybody who arrived late, missed the first few talks, wants to see like Andy's keynote or some of the earlier talks, you'll be able to watch that replay from YouTube on the Citus Con site. So I should probably pop up that banner so that everybody knows that. And then just reload the page whenever you go there, because we'll be refreshing it all day with new content. Yeah. What do you think? What were your thoughts?
Oh yeah, it was great. And what I didn't actually expect, I'm not sure if it was intentional, is actually there was an interesting synergy between some of the talks about like Andy talked about, okay, actually we don't have certain visibility into Postgres. And we're looking into Berkeley packet filters to get that. And then Andres talked about how to do that. So that was interesting. But then also like there's there's the self-driving database part was talking about things like how do you make good design decisions, and that also kind of relates to Sai's talk about can we automate this decision around the distribution column. And then there's also Bruce's talk where how to tune your database to get the planner to pick efficient plans, and also creating statistics is something that you'd eventually want to automate. Of course, we'll still have to wait like 8 years, according to Andy, maybe longer, to get all that automation. But it's an interesting trend.
Well, speaking of Andy, he is not only a professor at Carnegie Mellon, but he's also co-founder of a company called Ottertune. And actually, Lamont, can you pop up my CitusCon 38 Talks slide deck? Because I can pop around in there. And there's another speaker who created an on-demand talk for this event. And I don't know if I can get all the way to the right slide just by guessing, but this could be her. Yeah, Dana Van Aken. So a former PhD student of Andy's at Carnegie Mellon and also a co-founder and CTO at Ottertune. And so she's actually going to be giving, already has, the talk is live as of a few hours ago. You can get to there from the aka.ms Citus Con URL and just go to the schedule page. All those on-demand talks are live and available. But this looks interesting too, and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'll definitely go and watch that. Yeah, the other thing is like with the PostGIS talk. So there's also a talk by Mohammed Buckley, which goes into which adds one more dimension to the spatial data. So we usually use PostGIS and to work with geospatial data, like the location of where things happened. But then there's also spatial temporal data where things happened in a particular place over time, like ships move through the world over time, that's kind of something that PostGIS itself is maybe not super capable of handling. But then Mohammed and his team, they developed an extension called MobilityDB, and Mohammed has been looking at like how can I combine that with Citus to handle spatiotemporal data at very large scale. And spatiotemporal data would be something like a point over time. So it's actually like a series of points with different timestamps, or even polygons that kind of move over time. If you think about, let's say, clouds moving over a map. So that's also like a fascinating new area.
Or a bus that's moving as it goes by an advertising billboard, and you're trying to calculate, like, how much should we charge for that ad? How many of these people riding the bus see it as they progress by it? Is that a good example?
Yeah, that's a great example. I think that's
I stole it.
I haven't used this. So.
Yeah, I know. I stole it from one of his colleagues, Mahmoud Sakar. So I just popped up his slide. I wanted to say that I actually have a couple videos that I can share about, let's see, there's 3 different videos, and they're each like these short, less than 20-second, for the most part, snippets of these on-demand talks. So those of you who are watching us live or on the live stream later, those are kind of cool because it gives you just a sense of the speaker and their topic. And we uploaded them here, so I should be able to play them if I know how to work things. I'm trying to think of other things we want to be sure to cover right now. Help me out here, Marco.
So, like, I guess, what about the other live sessions? When are they, and who's going to be in it?
Okay, so I have slides for those. So the next live session is APAC. And I mean, first of all, look at this, like 42 speakers across all 38 talks. So just if you think that, oh, there were only 6 talks in this live stream, just know that there's also an APAC live stream that's going to be happening in, less than 8 hours. So 8:00 p.m. Pacific time, you're going to be asleep, Marco. But obviously on our website, there's a little widget in the upper left of the schedule for the live sessions where you can put your own time zone, and it'll convert all the times on the schedule, which is super convenient because we are, especially with the clocks changing a couple of weeks ago, it got really confusing. Like, well, what time is that going to be again? But anyway, I should have a picture here of all the live stream speakers for APAC right after these Americas ones. So here we go. Is this the right slide? Yeah. So, I'm one of the speakers. I got to go work on my talk. It's not quite ready yet. Umar Chibakchu, we both know him well. He's the keynote speaker.
Yeah.
And he is going to be talking about, let's see if I go to the next slide, 8 keys to the growth of Citus and distributed Postgres. So we know him well because he is the co-founder of Citus, where we both used to work before we got acquired by Microsoft. And this should be interesting. He's never given this talk before. I don't know what he's going to say. So I can't wait to watch it this evening. And then Thomas about queues in Postgres. Thomas is a Postgres committer. He's actually just like Andres and Melanie and probably Bruce, all these people working on the latest release of Postgres. Excuse me, didn't code freeze for the beta candidate just happen last week for PG-15? I think it did.
I think it's happening in a few days, actually.
Okay, well, they are exhausted. There has been so much intense work happening. So, but I'm thrilled that Andres and Melanie could be here, that Thomas is joining as well. I'm giving my talk, which is all about ways to contribute to an open source project like Postgres beyond code. And it's inspired by, actually, I don't know how I came up with the idea, but after I was working on the talk, I've discovered that Josh Burkus had given a talk in the Postgres community back in like 2013 about the same thing. His was titled 50 Ways to Love Your Project. And it's all about those ways to contribute beyond code. So Anthony Shaw lives in Australia. He works in the Python space and cloud native too, I think. And so he's going to be talking about security and Postgres. And then Kesuke Takahashi will be talking about localization, which is super important. Like Postgres is global. And so people use it all over the world. And so, but I don't know as much about this as I'd like to. So I'm looking forward to that. And then Andre Borodin, who'll be talking about the connection pooler, Odyssey, which is open source, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So, and you, I know, were really interested in this talk for some reason. I guess it's because connection scalability is a thing, right?
Yeah, it's a big challenge. And so Odyssey would be an alternative to PG Bouncer. And it seems like they may have some interesting solution to the problem of prepared statements, which is something that PG Bouncer doesn't support.
Awesome. So I want to see if we can roll some of those videos about the on-demand talks before we dive into the EMEA live stream, just because those videos are available now. And for the folks who are still watching this live stream, I want to make sure they know that there's some really valuable stuff there that they can learn from. I don't know. I think Juliet uploaded everything. So do you want me to try to roll them, or you want to do that, Lamont? I'd love to see the Citus reel if we can.
Single node Citus, we have partitioned, we have sharded our partitions. And if you want to scale out those, let's say the sharded partitions, you can basically add nodes to your cluster. And after adding nodes, you can basically run the rebalance table shards commands to rebalance your sharded partitions on the, let's say the multi-node Citus cluster.
I'm going to start by just talking about the basics, single row inserts versus copy, and for that matter, upserts, which are a wonderful Postgres pattern that should be used more often. I'm going to go from there into micro-batched and parallelized copy operations. And from there, we'll get into more difficult techniques. There's one I invented that I call index juggling that's worked out pretty well for me.
I'm going to break down each stage of our journey from 0 to 1 million events, from 1 to 100 million events, and then to billions of events. And for each stage, I'm distilling our learnings into lessons that you'll walk away with for you to use in your journey, from choosing a database technology to scaling it up.
My name is Matt Dupree, and I'm going to be giving a talk on some lessons that we've learned from optimizing Citus queries at Heap. So quick disclaimer and a little bit about me. So I've been at Heap for a couple of years, and when I first started doing performance work, it was actually a little bit intimidating. People were using terms like pushdowns and shard sampling.
Not to meet you virtually. I'm Ming Wei, and I work in the Windows data engineering group. When I started off, I realized that Citus has a great distributed SQL query execution engine, right? From a few examples, as you can see, from the data engineer point of view, this is just normal SQL, right? So this is actually very powerful.
A big data researcher and developer at the MobilityDB team. MobilityDB is a spatiotemporal database system developed by a research team in the Free University of Brussels in Belgium. And this is my talk about how it integrates with Citus to support big spatiotemporal data that it changes over time.
Hello, everyone. Today I will be talking about following select statements through Citus internals. And in fact, what does it mean that we will look into what happens under the hood when a user comes in and types a select query. And then while doing that, we will also have an opportunity to discuss some basic architectural diagrams of Citus.
With the single node Citus, we have...
There. Did I just hide it? Yes, I did. Cool.
Yes.
What did you think? You haven't seen those. My team has seen them. We help produce them.
I've quickly sort of scanned a few of them, but no, definitely haven't watched all of it. Well, so there's a few different types of talks in general. I mean, apart from we have a lot of Postgres talks, and then we have a bunch of Citus talks, and some more specifically Azure Postgres talks. But even within that, there's different categories, and I think I guess one category is the Citus internals. I think Under's talk is Under's more or less the main developer on the Citus extension. And he describes the path of a select statement through all the stages in Citus from planning to execution. And so it's a very interesting talk on like how Citus works internally. Another type is like these very large scale users. I think we have 3 or 4 of them. But so for example, ConvertFlow and Heap, they're very long time Citus users. So they often know more about Postgres and Citus than we at the engineering team do, and they solve like these really huge data problems, like really petabyte scale kind of databases they have to deal with, and they've been growing and growing forever. So the problem of scaling is something they run into a lot, and so they came up with a lot of interesting solutions. And then yeah, there are several talks on kind of using Citus a bit more effectively. So Burak is talking about how you use Citus with time series data. So Citus now has these built-in functions for automatically creating partitions using Postgres partitioning under the covers, but just making it more convenient. And yes, that is understocked.
They're little teeny tiny thumbnails, so it's like, oh, am I going to put up the right slide or not? It was very challenging, and I'm very proud of myself. Okay.
Right. So I definitely recommend this talk for
this
anyone.
Is Onder. This is from before, so I didn't pick the right one, but I got close.
Yeah. But I definitely recommend Onder's talk for everyone who wants to learn more about Citus.
And here's Burak's.
Yeah, if you're dealing with time series data and you have a lot of it, and that's what you want to use Citus for, definitely check out Burak's talk. So he talks about like how you can use time partitioning functions and columnar storage in Citus to deal with large quantities of time series data more effectively, apart from just the query distribution and data distribution.
So before we wrap, we've talked a bit about these Citus talks now because that's the video I just rolled, but there's also a whole bunch of Postgres talks. There's a category of Azure Database for Postgres talks, which are super interesting, and I have a small video with those teasers. And obviously these teasers are only for the on-demand ones, right? Only for the talks that already exist. And there's also a whole bunch of Postgres talks from developers and users in the community. And I've got a roll that I can run right now of some of those. Are you game?
Let's do it.
Wanna do it?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
I am the co-founder and CTO of OtterTune, which is a database tuning startup. Prior to this, I was a PhD student at Carnegie Mellon, and I graduated in February 2021. And during that time, I worked on knob tuning. And I also worked that entire time on Postgres as well.
I'm Francesco Tisiot, developer advocate at Ivan. And today, we together are going to understand how we can fix our strings. And, I wanted to give you an example of why we should fix strings, and I didn't have to go that far.
psycopg is the most used and advanced Postgres driver for Python. It implements the Python DB API 2.0, and it's distributed under the LGPL license. The library was released more than 20 years ago.
And I am here today to talk to you about a talk titled No Array of Sunshine, a data quality focused tour of data types. And what I want you to know is, and this is the big takeaway, is that this is a talk about how choices we make around data types can impact data quality.
I'm going to be talking about integer to BIGINT conversions. It's an advanced data talk for Postgres. And I've got a bunch of material that we're going to have to cover in a relatively short time. So I do want to just jump right on into it. And hopefully it'll be both educational and a little bit of therapy for those of you who've had to deal with this. And maybe even before you get to that point, this will have some tips that'll help you out.
If I wanted to just kind of get a high-level view of the whole query, particularly if I had many databases, I would have to sum all of that information up, aggregate it every time I wanted like that high-level view. If I do that at creation time, I can store one row per snapshot and then store the detailed information separately if I want to dig in.
Welcome to this talk about optimizing auto vacuum. I've been working with Postgres for about a decade now, in different roles, doing different things with it. As an extension developer for the Citus extension, I worked on working with a lot of customers who've been using Postgres and Citus and are having performance and scalability issues, talking to them, helping them get the best out of Postgres.
I am the co-founder.
Oh, I click, it turns off automatically, I guess.
Right.
Wow,
yeah,
I think we should.
That's a lot of cool talks.
I think we should calculate the percentage of talks that include a focus on PG stat statements somewhere in the talk. I mean, it's going to be more than 30%, maybe more than half.
It's a very useful extension, so that's only natural. But yeah, I think we have also a sort of nice gradient of good talks for if you're getting started with Postgres, especially good warnings about what not to do or how to properly do things. So there's some nice talks on data modeling by Danielle Montero, and the talk on the No Array of Sunshine talk by Renee Hunker. So those are good talks to kind of understand Postgres data types. So when you're in this initial phase of defining your schema, I mean, it's nice to just be able to get started quickly. So that's what you end up doing most of the time. But it's also good to understand what you're actually doing with different data types. And also the fix your string talks is also great. One talk I really love is the advanced into BIGINT conversion, because that's such a common nasty problem that you will run into eventually if you have a database that powers an application that turns out to be very popular. You're going to run out of integers at some point because maybe you inserted 1 billion rows and didn't expect to. So that's at least a good warning. Always use BIGINT if you might be big one day.
That issue comes up in several of the talks. I mean, I know that Renee Henker mentions it. Rob Treat, obviously his entire talk is about int to BIGINT conversions. And then Jonathan Denny of ConvertFlow, and he's a Citus customer, a longtime Citus customer. He talks about it as well because he ran into that issue. And another speaker named Colton, who is now a Citus customer, he helped John Denny work through that process, that conversion. So it's interesting, these repeated Postgres database themes that are not just in one talk, but in multiple. Before we run out of time, there is one more video, and it's a small set. I think it's just 4 or 5 video snippets about talks on Azure Database for Postgres, which is the managed service, obviously. Do you want to see that one? Should we do it?
Let's do it.
You ready? Okay, so here we go.
And behind me, you see a fish. Bash fish is a symbol of our team. The Postgres team within Microsoft is called Orcus. So that is that fish sitting behind me. And in this session, we will go over top 10 reasons why you should choose flexible server over our existing offering, which we call single server.
Welcome to Handle Azure Postgres Auditing with Ease. I am Josephine Bush. I have a lot of DB experience. I started SQL Server, and in the last few years, I've switched over. Well, I actually do both SQL Server and Postgres now in Azure.
So what does it actually mean in numbers? Interestingly, we have, with PostgreSQL, on that PostgreSQL database, basically, we analyzed 2.7 trillion of impressions from advertisements on the internet. Each month, we add 70 million of rows of data to our PostgreSQL database.
You need to pay attention to some very important points. The data types, type of index, most important operation in most main operation. This information gives you the basis for the correct choice for the following information.
Hi everyone, my name is Sena Güngör, and I will be walking you through the journey I had while creating monitoring tools for Citus on Azure. In this talk, I will briefly explain what are the most important metrics are to babysit your Postgres database and why we should keep an eye on them.
There you go. And I don't think we have much time left. I want to pop up the, let's see, is this the EMEA live stream? No, that's the APAC one. Like I said, these thumbnails are really, really tiny, but I can do it. All right, here we go. EMEA live stream, because you are a speaker, and I want to let everybody know that Marco is the technical lead for the Citus open source database engine that, transforms Postgres into a distributed database and does all this sharding magic. And he is giving the final talk in the EMEA live stream, which is happening in the middle of the night for me here in California, but it's your tomorrow, Wednesday. And it's all about the latest version of Citus, right? Citus 11, correct?
Yep. Has some exciting new features. So,
okay.
Well, I guess see you all tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you. And Marco, thanks so much for being the host. I can't wait to see your talk tomorrow. And thanks to everybody involved in making this happen. Come back for more live streams and replays. Bye, everyone. Thank you.